Hey everybody, hello and welcome. This is CreativePro's monthly live stream. I'm Kara Plichinich. I was trying to do the countdown on my fingers and I was too slow. That goes fast. Well, hey, welcome. We are going to have some fun today. We're going to be talking about building patterns in Illustrator. We're keeping it simple. We're just going to be making some patterns, and we're going to also tap into the AI feature to generate patterns with a simple text prompt. So that'll be fun. If you're not taking advantage of this month to really play with all the AI prompting and generative features across all the Adobe apps, the credit system is going to be changing starting December 1st. And right now it's free to do all the generating that you want. You can use the different models. So we're going to be taking advantage of that and playing a little bit to see what we can come up with. We also want to let you know that here at Creative Pro, we've got some great events coming up. Our next one is the InDesign conference happening next month in December. And if you want to use the code livestream over at creativepro.com/events, you can save $100 on your registration. Let's pop over here and see the chat. I was asking people to share some prompt ideas, what we might use when we get there to do some fun AI stuff. And we have this comment from, is it Kino? Am I saying that right? To generate something with a Christmas theme, maybe some mugs and marshmallows. And that made me think candy canes might also be really fun to throw in there. Rob, it's lovely to have you here with us. And he says, how about winter? And yeah, I love that idea too. Snowflakes. Ooh, that would be really fun. So we'll see. We're going to play with that and we'll see what we can come up with. And that'll be great. It's super fun to play with those features. So if you have other suggestions, you can drop them down in the chat and we will see. We can give it a try. All right, let's pop over to Illustrator. So, hey, here we are. Simple stuff. I've got some artwork on my canvas here, and this is some just really simple bits, right? Just separate little stuff. And if we want to turn this into a pattern, you guys, it's so simple. Even I can do it. All right. So here's what we're going to do. We've got to take our objects. I'm just going to select them. So I don't even have to worry about anything else that might be on my artboards anywhere or in the document. I'm just going to select what I want to include in the pattern. And are you ready for this? This is how easy it is. This live stream might be really short. We're just going to go to Object, Pattern, Make. Object, Pattern, Make. And it's lying to me and it's telling me it can't make a pattern out of that. Why would you do that, Illustrator? I just did this. Object, let's try this stuff. Pattern, make. There we go. All right. I don't know what I did over there. I must have screwed something up. So I've selected this. We've gone to object, pattern, make, and now it is telling us that it's already added this pattern to our swatches panel. So we can actually see that right here. And it's letting us know that if we make any changes while we're in pattern editing mode, which is where we now are, it will be applied to that little swatch when we exit. So I'm going to click OK, and let's talk about what we are in now. We are in pattern editing mode. So as you can see, if I zoom out of here, we now have our original artwork, and then we have this kind of ghosted overlay, and that is showing us the repeat of our pattern. And it's kind of hard to see when we can see all the artboards like that. So I'm just going to hide my artboards real quick. I'm holding down Shift and Command or Control on a PC and H. And that's going to just hide the artboards because that's really messy. It might give you a headache. So now we can just look at our art and the current pattern just straight out of the box. And it's not terrible. It is not terrible. We also have over here, we have some options. So we can really customize this pattern. There's so much to know about pattern making and all of the thought and care and technique and craft that goes into it. And that is not my area of expertise, but it sure is fun. And this panel here in Illustrator really does let you be dangerous with all the cool things you can create. So here we can change, first of all, the type of pattern, right? So the first thing it's going to default to is a grid pattern. So it's taking the tile, which is shown with this outline here around our artwork, and it's just making a grid of it and repeating it. So it's directly, this tile is directly copied down below and up above and to the sides. So that's great. It might be perfect just like that. We can move it around and edit the pattern by simply clicking on some of the artwork and dragging it. So you'll see if I drag it up there, it moves on this tile, and that is reflected in all of those repeats. So if I want to make this a little bigger, possibly, I can do that, move it down or rotate it or what have you. Let's scale this back down a little bit. Okay, so that is kind of the overview here. When we're happy with this, we would then just click done, and that pattern, that swatch, gets saved over here. So now I could draw a shape like this, and I could just simply fill it with the pattern. How cool is that? And then this will just fill it out. Whatever I do here with the shape, I mean, I think that's not bad, just like that, right? So that is the most simplest form. But now, of course, to get back in there, if we want to edit that pattern, maybe we're like, you know what? Maybe a grid repeat is not what we're after. All we have to do is double click on that pattern swatch in the swatches panel. And now we are back here in the pattern editing workspace. And we know that we're in that workspace because we can see these repeats. We can see this little grayed out breadcrumbs sort of menu up here that's letting us know where we are. So we can do things in here like rename this my awesome botanical pattern. There we go. And then let's see what else we can do besides a grid repeat. We can come down here and maybe we want to do a brick by row repeat. So that's possible. I don't really love how that's looking with a half tile offset. We're ending up with the two green shapes on top of themselves. So maybe not so great. Let's try 2/3, maybe even 3/4. So we have options. We can tell it how much we want to offset these tiles. That looks a little better. Maybe we'd want to rearrange things on here. In addition to brick by row, we can do brick by column. I definitely am liking that better. So that looks cool. And then here's the thing. When we, like, let's say we like this now and we're like, oh, I do like that, but I don't want to override my existing grid pattern. If we just hit done, the changes will override our swatch that we just created. So maybe in this case, I would click save a copy, and then we'll just call it awesome pattern, botanical pattern. And we can call this one 2, whatever, right? We'll click OK. And it's just letting us know the same thing. And then we see that it actually made a new swatch. So now we could click done. And now we have 2 swatches. Did I just, let's see here. I might have overridden it. Dang it. Let's go back in and see. If I double click that first one, yep, I did overwrite it. So somehow I didn't save a copy like I thought I did. Let's do this over again. So here's our brick by column. Let's make a copy of it before we even get in there. So I'm going to drag that down to the we'll call this one original. If we click that new swatch button, that will duplicate it since these ended up the same. And then let's just get out of here and let's pick one like this original to go back to. So now we'll go back to that grid pattern. There we go. And now if we hit done, now you can see we have the two different ones. So we can put the grid pattern over here and we have the brick by column over here. So it's kind of that simple. It is a good practice to make duplicates of your patterns so that you're not doing what I just did. Let me do this one more time. We'll make a third instance of the pattern. So I'm just clicking that new pattern or new swatch button down there and then double clicking on it to bring it into this editor space. And we also have, of course, hex by row and hex by column. So there's a lot of fun stuff we can do, including once we get in here, we can also adjust our tile size. So if we're looking at this and I'm seeing that the artwork is overlapping, maybe we want to increase our tile. And when we do that, we can decide if we want to link the width and height or control them individually. I'm actually going to undo the link and I'm just going to use my arrow keys in this little space right here. I've just got it highlighted and I'm just holding the shift key to make the changes a little bit bigger. And then I'm tapping the up arrow key to just push the tile a little bit wider. And we can see that happening here and we can see the effects on the pattern. And that is pretty cool. When we have overlaps, if we have our tile be small and we have the overlap of the artwork, we can even control which pieces of the overlap are in front or back. So it really gives you a lot of control. And I am so impressed that even I can make a tile and it's not too terrible and it's certainly not difficult. So when we're happy with this third version with a hex by column, I'm going to go ahead and click done. And now I'll drag out another copy of this and we'll fill it with that pattern there. Incidentally, if we want to scale the patterns within our shapes, you want to make sure, and I'm going to do this, there's a lot of ways to do this. I'm going to do this in the transform panel. There's a lot of things you got to look out for. So in here, if I go to the transform panel menu, I want to make sure that I'm transforming the pattern only. And then we can get in here and scale this pattern. So there we go. Transform the pattern only. And let's come in here and we can scale this down. So again, I've got these linked for the width and height and I'm just holding shift and down arrowing to get that scaled. Same with this. I want to make sure that we are transforming the pattern only. And we can scale that down. And same here. Just so we can see how this is looking. And let's go to our swatches. All right, so pretty simple stuff. The other fun thing that we can do with all of this is generate patterns. So let's pop over to the chat before we do that and we'll see what's going on in here. I see we have some questions about what's happening after the December 1st date with AI. So at Adobe Max, they were talking about this. And to be honest, it's really confusing. And I don't have like the greatest detailed answers other than as a subscriber every month, if you are a subscriber to the whole Creative Cloud, you're going to get, I think it's 4,000 credits every month that you can use to generate stuff. So different kinds of generations cost different credits. If you're generating video, for example, that's going to cost more, I believe, than like generating something, like generating a picture of a horse or something in Photoshop. The video is going to be on the more costly side for credits. And I don't know what things like this that we're going to do in Illustrator. I don't know what that would be. So we're going to find out. But basically, we will not just have free reign of all the AI tools because it costs a lot to run them. So that's what's changing. There's more information on Adobe's website. And let me see. I don't have it open. I can add the link. I'll add the link to the video description, or actually also to the chat at the end with the real specifics of how that works. If you're on like the photography plan only, I forget it's different, the amount of credits that you get. But, obviously the more you're paying, the more credits you get with your monthly thing. I know they don't roll over. It's like a use it or lose it thing. So it's nice that we have a little bit of a buffer because, the AI, one of the things I'm really realizing about the whole AI tool world is that you have to play with it, right? Recently, CreativePro, we just had our design and AI event, 2 days of amazing AI information. And that was like the one huge takeaway that I really came away with, which was just that this stuff is a process. These are all just tools. There's a gazillion of them. They all work a little bit differently. Some are better at some things, and others excel at other things. So you have to experiment, and it's really trial and error. And through that process, you get better at prompting and everything. But it really is a process. And the only way to get good at it and figure it out is to try and play with it. So it's really nice to know that we have the freedom to really do that, like as much as you want until December 1st. So I really highly encourage you to check that out. All right. Yeah. Let's pop in and take a look then at how we're going to do that here in Illustrator with the generate options. So I'm going to bring my artboards back up and just we'll just start here on a little blank board, and I'm going to just drag a shape out, and let's go generate something. So we can go back. There's a few ways to get into this. We can go from the object menu. We can go back to pattern, and we can choose generate patterns. I think there's also an option for this in the properties panel. All right, so here we are, and I'll show you later. These are some of the patterns that I was generating the other day when I was playing with this, but let's go ahead and try something totally new. And we're going to take your suggestions right from the chat. So Kino had said something Christmassy, mugs and then marshmallows. And I thought, you know what, maybe candy canes. Mugs, and let's do candy canes. So let's say simple line art illustration featuring mugs of hot cocoa and candy canes. Let's say simple Christmas themed line art illustrations featuring mugs of hot cocoa, candy canes. Should we, and let's say, and what else would be good? Stars? Okay, that sounds good. Now, here in this little workspace, we can fine tune it. So we can come down here and suggest colors for this. So there are some presets. We could just do like black and white. We could say warm, vibrant colors, pastel colors, muted, etc. We can also specify certain colors if we want. So let's just see what it does. Let's say cool tone. That's not my usual. Let's try it and see what happens. We can also say the number of colors. So let's say 10, just not to be too nuts. Here's where we would specify them if we want to, but I don't have any particular thoughts on that. So let's cross our fingers and see what happens. We're going to click generate, and it's going to do that. Let's see while that's going in the chat. We could do something made with marshmallows, right? Oh, I like the stars and the like maybe they're marshmallow stars. Maybe that's what you're saying, Rob. All right, look at that. All right, so it made 3 versions. Now here's where I think this is kind of weird how this works, and it really throws me for a loop every time. So I've clicked on this swatch. This one is now showing up in our patterns, and it puts them all in a folder. So here's the ones that I was doing yesterday. Here it added the one that is the first result that I just clicked on. If I click the second one, then it will show us a little preview. It will also add it to our swatches. And if I click the third one, it does the same. This one is straight up weird. What is that? I don't know what's going on. I definitely like this first option better. If we click the little 3-dot menu, we don't need to add it to the swatches because you can see by clicking, it just added it here. Let's see what happens if we add it to swatches here. Nothing. This is what I was really confused about because I kept choosing from the 3 dots. I kept saying add to swatches, and I didn't realize it already added them simply because I clicked on them here. So I don't know. It's kind of weird, but let's come in from that 3-dot menu. We can also choose edit pattern. So that's going to bring us to the pattern edit workspace. And I'm just going to close this generate patterns panel so we can see what we're doing. And here is our artwork. So what would we like to do to this? Maybe we can get in here and change things. Let me zoom in. And I'm going to ungroup this and see if we can have some fun. So like here we have a little star. Maybe we fill it with a color or change. I guess it's an expanded shape, isn't it? Yep. It's compound path. Maybe I decide, you know what? I don't want the inside piece. Let's get rid of that. There we go. Maybe we want to have a full star. So we can come in here and play with this. Maybe we want to add some shapes behind it. I don't know. Let's get the blob brush, and maybe I'm just gonna I'm painting with white apparently. Let's fill that with color. And we'll move it behind. I don't know. I'm making a mess, but you get the idea. So we can make these edits here. Let's also, maybe if we tighten up the tile size, let's see what happens. Oh, yeah, we are revealing some limitations here. So that's going to reduce the tile size, but it also made this repeat has a lot of components. So what might be nice is to just simplify this a little bit. So like maybe we get rid of a lot of these pieces and we could rebuild our own pattern if we want from the elements that it gave us. So I'm just gonna delete a lot of this. Somewhere in here too, I forget, in the settings, there is also an option to control the density of the pattern. So that might be helpful. All right, so I'm going to just really rebuild this and whoop. Let's see. Let's not make that. Let's make it, ooh, whatever color. All right, we'll keep our pattern blue. There we go. All right. And put some stars. Now, let's tell it to size the tile to our artwork. And if we click on this tool up here, we can actually just reshape the tile. There we go. So this little button up here lets you just drag the tile the way you want it so that you don't have to fiddle with just the settings. I don't know what's up there that it thought the artwork was that big, but all right, then let's, oh, and also it's locking us into grid. Really? Let's save this and then let's see what happens if we come back to it and try to edit it. Interesting. It is logging us into grid. So I guess I didn't realize that. If that is a limitation of generated patterns, that they can only be a grid, or if something about the way that I've set this up is going to limit us. That's curious. I would love to know if anyone has some thoughts on that. So we might want to change this then. Let's get back in here and move maybe this piece should be like down here. Just because it's a grid doesn't mean it has to be boring. We can come in here and change a number of things about it. So I'm going to move this star down and maybe put one more over here. And actually, that doesn't look too terrible. Not bad. All right, so then we'll click done, and then boom, we just generated this pattern. I just think that's amazing. Let's do another one. We'll come over here, and I'm going to just draw another little shape. We'll fill it with nothing, and we're going to tell it to go generate another pattern. Let's go. And actually, I'm going to pull one of these that I made the other day because I thought it turned out really well, and we'll do it again and see how it compares to the one that I did as a sample. So to get back and generate this again, we're just going to go back to Object and Pattern and Make. Nope, that's wrong. Cancel. We're going to go back to Object and Pattern, Generate Patterns. There we go. And I'm going to type in this prompt that says simple line art illustrations of sunbursts and stars in a chic boho style. And let's go into our settings and let's tell it to do this with black and white. And here is our density slider. So from this little button, we can add some effects. And from this cogwheel, we can adjust the density. So let's put it in the middle. So we saw that the other pattern was really low density, and I definitely want this to be a little higher. So in fact, let's crank this up all the way. And then we'll click Generate. All right, we'll see what that's going to cook up. It'll be interesting to compare it to the stuff from yesterday. These are all looking pretty similar to each other. So here is the first result. Not bad, very boho, sunbursts and stars. Ooh, I like that one too. And this one as well. I don't know which would be my favorite. Probably this guy. So, and we can see by simply clicking on them, they've all been added to our swatches here. So interesting. But yeah, it's that simple. I'm going to go ahead and close this out. And we can see actually that it does have a white fill. So if that's something that you'd want to get rid of, then we need to double click on that swatch in the swatches panel and come in here. I'm going to see if I can grab it. There we go. So we have a white fill in all of the little circles too. Let me see if our select tool, if we can select the same fill color. Oop, that's not going to do it in this workspace. So we would need to remove these white fills. So I'm just going to set them all to none. There we go. That's a bit of a process. So you can see this, I mean, this is not like perfection yet, right? There's still much to be desired. It would be nice to be able to tell it that we don't want fills or whatever. Have a little bit more information to get in there and get more specific so we can spend less time editing. But once we get in here and get things set up the way we want, then that's pretty cool. Let's see which of these I've already... I think one of the faster ways to work might be to... Is this guy cleared? No. One of the faster ways to work might be to grab the pieces that we want and copy and paste them into another pattern. So I'm just going to grab like those 4 elements and I'm going to copy it, and we'll just cancel and get out of here. And then I'm going to move this whole thing away, and let's paste those elements onto our artboard and see what is still needing to be edited. So like this guy, I would want to get rid of that fill. Is he still there? He's still there. And get rid of this fill. And we'll give these 2 guys a black stroke there. So maybe then we would take these and build our pattern from these pieces if we don't like how Illustrator did it. Plus, then we could mess with the repeat in different ways. So let's go back to Object, Pattern, Make this time. So we're taking generated elements, but we're going to make our own pattern, because now we can do like a brick by column situation, and we can offset it in different ways. Maybe we want to come in and do, let's do hex by column. And yeah, we just have to play with it and see like what we're going to like. We can adjust the tile size and move some things around. Whoops. Whoa, that's not good. All right. We'll take this guy. Let's see. Maybe make him smaller. I definitely like this for just being able to play with this stuff, but it's not quite plug and play yet. So, yeah. It's fun. And then, when we're happy, we're done. And we have another new pattern swatch. So we could even get rid of the stuff. And maybe we would want to overlay that pattern on a background fill. So we can fill a square with that pattern. There we go. And maybe if we go to the appearance panel, it's nice if instead of building the fill color into the pattern, we can just add it as a separate fill in the appearance panel. So with this frame selected, I'm going to come over here to appearance, and we'll just come down to the bottom and add a new fill. And for this fill, maybe we'll choose a color like this. And if we drag it below, then we can get this effect. So that's pretty cool. And certainly we could play with that endlessly. I see over in the chat, I see Rob is saying, what is boho style? Like bohemian. Just kind of, loose, chic. It's very trendy, the boho style. So hopefully that answers that question. It really does look like what the pattern is over here. So not bad. Let me show you the ones that I got when I was generating this the other day with the same prompt. So here's very similar, right? Now, again, this one is the pattern itself does not have a fill. I added the fill here. So the pattern is just the stars or the suns. So you can see it's actually really similar. And then I think I just set all of it to just be one solid color. So I wonder if we come back in here, let's go back into the AI version. And if we just select all of this and give it a black fill, that's going to select the frame too. Yeah, it's interesting. And I wonder, maybe, well, there we go. So that wasn't so bad. That's good. So this is the AI generated pattern just straight out of the box. I went back in to edit it in the swatches panel. I deleted the fill that it had put there. And then I just I selected all the objects and changed their fill to black. So that was actually really pretty easy to edit. And I like how that looks. So I'm just going to click done. And now we can see that this is updated over here. Let's do one more. And I don't know what will happen if we don't have anything selected. Maybe it won't put that fill in. Let's go back to object, pattern, generate. And let's say simple line art illustration of, what should we do in the chat? Let's say snowflakes. That was Rob's idea from before. And let's keep it black and white. And let's keep the density high. And we'll click generate. So I didn't draw a shape first. So I don't know what that will change. I don't remember if I tried that before or not the other day. It is generating our snowflakes. Looking good. It just didn't put them anywhere for us. So yeah, and we'll click on all of these. I think I like this one. So I'm going to select this one and go up to the 3-dot menu and choose edit pattern. And here we are. Let's see if it put in a swatch there. So if I select everything and change the color, yep, it's still like wants to build in a background. So I'm going to try and delete that. There we go. And then if we select all the bits that are left, that's fun. And it's interesting how it does this too, because you can see that it didn't generate the whole snowflake. Like if we were doing this ourselves, we would have made the snowflakes and then dragged them into the pattern tile. So like this snowflake is cut in half because it repeats up here. So that's interesting the way it builds that. It does make it a little trickier to edit, at least in my brain. I'm like, what? Why would you do that? So I'd have to go find a full instance of this and then move it. But, oh, look at this one's so cute. But that's all right. It still is, workable. So, if we wanted to select all of these, we could fill them with black or whatever color. Then we're going to lose some of these bits in the middle. And I wonder if I'm going to try again to see if it would let us select everything with this fill color. So if I select this little piece here that's got that white fill, and then if we come up to select same fill color, we can select all of that and then maybe just hit to make it transparent. But what it looks like is happening is that not all of these have the same. So you can see some of those shapes are filled with a slightly different color. It looks almost identical, but it's not. So we'd have to repeat this a few times. So that's kind of a pain in the butt. So there, let's set those to transparent and let's see. That should do the trick because we limited it to just 2 colors. So let's go ahead and click done. And then if we draw out a shape, oh, and it's already, oops, it's already in there, isn't it? And look, yay, it's on a transparent background. So now we could add whatever kind of fill we want behind this really, really easily. Let's go back to the appearance panel and we'll add another new fill and drag it behind and change it to this color blue. There we go. Hey, that's not bad, right? Pretty simple. So that is a look at how easy this is to create here in Illustrator. And like I said, I'm not a super pattern whiz. And I'm definitely clunky with the whole generative process, but it does work. I think the things that are helpful to keep in mind are that you want to keep it very simple to start out with. And yeah, you can see, oh, here again, there's still little white bits left that must have been yet another shade that we'd have to work through. So you might get better results if you specify exactly, oh, because we did tell it 10 colors. Whoops. Probably should have stuck with 2. That would have helped. That would help to reduce that editing. And then maybe we want to specify that the whole thing is just black. It won't let us go less than 2. So we could say black and white and like, that's it. So I think that would also help clear it up, make it a little easier. Yeah, but it takes practice and that's what's nice. You can get all of that practice in as much as you want before December 1st. So I think that's about it. I was going to show you too. I guess once you create some of these patterns, if you're creating them for, sending out to like Spoonflower or something, you can try the mockup feature here. So I've got this pattern that I made, and I'm just going to drag it on top of this photograph. And if we select them both, we can then go back to Object and choose Mockup, Create Mockup. And Illustrator is going to do its best to emulate Photoshop, and we'll see what happens. Oh, I see a question. I'll get to you in a minute here. Joseph, hold on. This is not working well at all. Oh, there we go. So once we select that pattern piece, we draw it on top of the object and it's not perfect. Boy, there's a little bit of help. So once we select both pieces, you can go under the object menu again and just choose Object, Mockup, Make, and it will try to do this. You can see this is not one of its better attempts, but it is trying. And if I drag too far, it really gets confused. So definitely not Photoshop. one other thing we can do while we're in here is if we come up to, up here, if we click on opacity, we can change blend modes like we would in Photoshop. So I can change this to multiply, and now we can at least see some of the tones and values in the object behind the pattern. So yeah, I think the problem here is this image maybe is just, it's having a hard time with it. I'm trying to scooch it up little by little and it's kind of choking. There, that was a little better. Baby steps, I guess. Oh, and then I went too far. So I would probably want to try this with a different image. And you can see in the mock-up panel, there are some pre-ready mock-ups, but these ones are set for branding, so that's not terribly helpful. Let's see in packaging. It's going to take our pattern piece and just smack it on a package. Let's see. Let me get out of here a little bit. I'm going to come down here and let's just see what happens if we place this on our canvas. So these are pre-made, so it's showing us the pattern, but we would probably want to scale it. But you can see how cool this is to be able to drag it around. And again, if we change the blend mode, so I'm clicking up here on opacity and changing this to multiply, then we can really see it's a little slow to respond, but you can really see how it moves around the shape. And in this case, yeah, it's even distorting around the folds and stuff. So that's pretty cool. And again, that was just taking a photo, putting the pattern on top of it, selecting them both, and going back to the object menu and choosing Object Mockup Make. And pretty neat. All right. So if we want to get out of here, then we can click Release, and that will just put everything back to standard frames. So there you have it. I see one more question coming in the chat from Joseph. Says, how much of this can one do in Photoshop instead of Illustrator? Well, you can do all of it in Photoshop. However, it wouldn't be vector, right? So in Photoshop, I mean, Photoshop does have some vector capabilities, but you can make patterns in Photoshop. They will not have all of these amazing advanced options. And actually, I think we did a live stream on this recently. So if you go back, Joseph, go to the CreativePro channel and look at the live streams that we've previously done. And I think we did one on making patterns in Photoshop. So that will answer your question. But yeah, totally doable, but not as much control as you would have here in Illustrator. So if creating patterns and vector patterns is what you want to do, Illustrator's definitely the place to do that. But if you want to create some simple pixel-based stuff, you can also do it in Photoshop. So this is one of those areas where they overlap. And ultimately, it just depends on what you're trying to do, will determine which tool you want to use. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, everybody. Well, thanks for joining me. Just want to remind you that we do have that InDesign conference coming up. And if you want to attend that or any of our amazing events that are they just come one after another. There's so many of them that you can save $100 with the discount code livestream. So thank you so much for being here. And as always, you can pop questions in the chat. I will add that link about the credits and the AI generative stuff and how that's all going to be changing starting December 1st. So I'm going to go grab that link. So stick around, give me a few minutes, and I will pop it in the chat and also in the video description. So you can look for that there. So thanks, everybody. And we will look forward to seeing you next time. Bye-bye.